the end of secular education in Texas, shocking Chaplain bill passes. Texas is on the brink of a seismic shift in its education system. In a shocking turn of events, the Texas Senate has just passed a bill that opens the door for religious chaplains to infiltrate public schools. The controversial Senate Bill 763 allows schools to hire unlicensed chaplains using emergency funds to provide mental health support to students. Despite attempts to impose restrictions on these chaplains, such as accreditation requirements and prohibitions on proselytization, all amendments were defeated. Critics are alarmed that this legislation blurs the line between church and state, with concerns ranging from the potential for religious indoctrination to the promotion of unscientific counseling methods. As Texas inches closer to a faith-driven education system, tensions rise between those advocating for a secular approach and those championing the role of religion in schools. So let me give you more detail. There was a bill that just passed the Texas Senate, which I believe means that it needs to go also through their state house before it becomes law, where basically unlicensed chaplains are allowed to enter schools and provide mental health services to children. And not only that, there's so much about this that is crazy. They are allowed to be paid by the school with public funds from funds that are meant as emergency funds, safety funds, aka funds that in other areas are supposed to be used to prevent school shootings. And this is what they want to use it for instead. Not only that, but there's no accreditation requirements from these chaplains. That is less requirements and credentials than you need to go serve prisoners, criminal offenders. There's a higher standard to go provide chaplain services to criminal offenders than to children. And there were attempts to make amendments to make sure that they are not allowed to proselytize to children, make sure that they're not allowed to engage with children without permission from their parents. But those amendments failed. And the people who are defending this bill are like, okay, but technically when it comes to the different school boards across the state, they are allowed to put on those restrictions on a case-by-case basis. Like if one school board wants to put on those restrictions, they're welcome to. But it's not inherently part of the law itself. It's not part of the, what am I looking for? Like the baseline of this, right? And it's just another attempt to try to get prayer back in schools. And part of the problem is like there are going to be people who are not accredited, not licensed, and are going to be working with vulnerable population, which is children, supposed to be providing mental health and emotionally supportive services to them. But the problem is that they're not qualified to be dealing with emotionally supporting like children, teenagers, and adolescents. So a lot of people are concerned that they're going to be pushing forward pseudoscience. They're going to be teaching kids that their like anxieties and depression are essentially sins that need to be prayed away. And a lot of really harmful beliefs like that. I know people in our community where they were taught that about their anxieties and mental health experiences, right? By unlicensed pastors and stuff like that. So people are really, really shocked and concerned about the direction that this is taking.
Where do you think this is heading? This is like scary future.
What's concerning is that, like I said, all of those amendments to try to put some frickin' brakes on this thing have failed. And like kind of the main thing that stands in the way of this right now is just the US Constitution. Mm-hmm. And this seems to have been kind of emboldened and put forward by that Supreme Court case that happened last year, where the Supreme Court ruled that it is not a violation of the Establishment Clause for a high school teacher to be praying openly on school property during school activities with his students. They said that's not a violation. And so that decision by the Supreme Court last year set this really dangerous precedent. And now we're seeing that how conservatives are taking advantage of that, right? That they're like, okay, this has opened the doors. This has opened the floodgate. Now we have the ability to explicitly get this back into school in a way that we did not have at all before. And I'm concerned about I don't know if this does go into law and this does you know if it is challenged and goes to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court would probably be sympathetic to nonsense like this, especially based on
Thank
their
you,
history.
Trump. Thank you, Trump, and people who decided not to vote for Hillary because they're all just as bad. This is
Oh
your
my
doing,
god,
by the way.
yeah. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the freedom of just quick answers? Is the Freedom from Religion Foundation involved? Like,
Oh, of course.
how's
Yes.
yeah? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, and also Mustafa and Ayas are asking, is Church of Satan also maybe get
Ooh,
involved?
I can't wait to see how the Satanic Temple, how they'll use
The
this bill
Satanic
against them.
Temple.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You have a good point.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's gonna get juicy.
Prince Stephen is asking, doesn't the U.S. Constitution require secularism? This is a potential Supreme Court case. Yep. Susanna
Exactly.
already. Yeah. I just said D. I don't know. I think she was clarifying something that you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was one more thought that I have. I do have one good piece of news that came out of Texas. A few weeks ago, we talked about how there was a bill that was going through to make it so that Texas schools had to display the 10 Commandments, which is absolutely insane. But the good news is that bill failed. So that was an update on that story. So, but now we have this nonsense.
Okay. We got another super chat from Had Ibn Ad. Did I mention his or her name last time?
No, because I can't read that. I can't read that alphabet.
Had Ibn Ad, which means Had, the son of Ad.
Nice.
And we got another 4.9. What is that currency again for Malaysia?
Malaysian ringgit.
Ringgits.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Had.
Thank you for the support. Yeah. Cool.